We will now talk about chemical safety, which is 3.4. This is applicable for all such factories which use chemicals of various types, some of which are very corrosive or very hazardous. So in such cases, all chemicals and hazardous substances must be identified and labeled with warning signs. So any factory which is using very harmful, dangerous and hazardous chemicals, these chemicals should be identified and labeled with warning signs. Employees handling the chemicals must be adequately trained. So there should be a designated person who must be having some formal education or some training in related to chemicals, and the person should have adequate training so that the employee can handle the chemicals and ensure that no such accidents happen. And just in case the accidents happen, the employee knows what to do in what particular situation. And of course, the employee or the employees who will be handling the chemical, all of them have to be given personal protection equipment. Personal protection equipment can be in terms of, if it is a chemical which has a lot of fumes, then the person will have to wear a mask. If it is something where the chemicals are a little corrosive, burns the skin and things like that, then a person will be wearing the gum boots for the legs and will be wearing the gloves to protect both the feet and hands. And there has to be spill kits or absorbents. Now, spill kits or absorbents means that, let's say there is a lot of chemical, hazardous chemical, corrosive chemical in a drum, a big drum, and just in case that drum starts leaking in the middle of the night, and when the factory opens in the morning about 8 or 9 o'clock, the chemical has already spread and has damaged the walls and other things, and it would go through down the drain and would eat away the drain also. It could be an acid which can eat away into the plastic pipes or metal pipes, anything. Then so it can cause any kind of damage. It can the harm or the losses can be unimaginable. So there is a particular room in which all the chemicals are kept, and in that room the spill kit is there, which is sand, and there are other things which absorb the chemicals. So these spill kits are kept in such a way that if a drum or a jerry can starts leaking, then the chemical will be absorbed by this spill kit or the absorbent, and nothing untoward happens. There is no outlet or a drain in a room which has the chemicals. The chemicals cannot flow out of the room into the normal drain system because they are very hazardous. We go to the next slide, which is 32, and you can see the personal protection equipment, which is protection for just the eyes or for the ears or for the hands or for the entire body. We have this personal protective kit, and so depending on the kind of work that is being done, accordingly the personal protection equipment has to be used, and the employee should know how to use the equipment. And spill kit, if you see on the right side, these are this is more like packets of sand, such materials which absorb the hazardous chemicals and does not let it spread. So these are the things which have to be present in a factory which is using hazardous chemicals. So with that, we go on to section 3.5, which is related to equipment or machinery. Now the thumb rule is, a factory is supposed to provide the correct equipment, the right equipment, which should be well maintained and in working condition. You cannot be giving an ill-maintained or a badly working equipment to an employee. The employee can hurt himself or herself. Or if you don't give the right equipment, the employee will not be able to do the job well and may lead to stress or strain in the body. So the equipment has to be right, well maintained and in good condition, working condition. Second, dangerous machinery or moving parts likely to cause injury must be securely guarded. Meaning to say, let's say there's a fan or there are large moving parts, and any human which comes in contact with any of these moving parts may lose a limb or may get killed. So if you have some kind of machinery, then it has to be well secured and it has to be guarded. So secured in terms of having a metal net or a fence, something like that, so that even by mistake no one comes in direct contact with the moving parts. And there should be a guard or a security personnel who ensure that no one comes close to any of these machines, dangerous machines. Third one is hoists, pressure vessels, boilers, forklifts. These must be regularly inspected, properly maintained and documented. Inspected whether they are working properly or not. There shouldn't be any leakages, there shouldn't be any malfunctioning of these things, because these are very dangerous pieces of equipment. They should be properly maintained. There should be a maintenance manager or a maintenance let's say a person who looks into maintenance, and it should be well documented, meaning to say that which particular item or which particular equipment has been serviced on which date, and what is the next date on which it has to be serviced, and who serviced it, and who was the supervisor who verified it. So that document has to be there. And some of the factories, especially garment factories, which also has the facility of ironing the garments. So in that case, there are going to be steam pipes, compressed air pipes, hot water pipes, and of course, because washing of the garment is done, so tanks would also be there. So all these have to be regularly inspected and properly maintained. And in case of forklifts, it should be inspected daily. These forklifts are very dangerous and can cause problems. So next slide, which is 34, we can see the hoists, a fairly familiar equipment with the help of which you can lift very heavy objects using the chain system, and it moves across the beams. So heavy items can be picked up, lifted with the help of this hoists, and can be shifted from one place to another, but very dangerous. So the hoists have to be checked. If you have lifted something heavy with the help of the hoist, and in between it gets jammed or the heavy item falls down on someone, then it can lead to casualty. Someone may die or something like that. So therefore these hoists have to be checked regularly. Pressure vessel, needless to add, it is a vessel in which there will be chemicals, or there will be steam, or there will be water, and it is going to withstand a lot of pressure. Just in case the pressure vessel blasts, it can actually destroy the entire building. So normally pressure vessels are kept outside the building in the open spaces, and these pressure vessels, they are huge. So all their joints, all the pipes, all the wiring have to be checked regularly by the maintenance person or the maintenance engineer. Third, we can see forklift. This is a small one, like a bobcat. There are big forklifts also, and if these malfunction, it can hurt anyone. And the power is very the power of this vehicle is very high. So if it hits or something goes wrong, it can lead to fatal accidents. So therefore the forklifts have to be checked every day. And then boiler, similar to pressure vessel, the job of the boiler is to boil the water and supply compressed steam or high pressure steam to the ironing and pressing department from where the pressing of the garments or the ironing of the garment is done. I will go to slide number 35, in which we talk about the welding cylinders. Now, welding is where we are using gas lighter, and at very high temperatures we do the welding of two metals, melting the metal and then fusing them together. So the welding is done. Now this leads to a lot of light, because it's very bright. So person who is using the welding machine must be wearing dark glasses. Now second is welding cylinders. They should be equipped with flame arresters and check valves. The check valve is to stop the flow of gas, and flame arrestor is just in case there is a leakage of gas. The flame arrestor is going to immediately block it, and let's say at one end where the leakage is happening, it catches fire. So that fire, if it reaches the cylinder which is holding that much of gas, is going to blast. So flame arresters, they immediately block it. So the flame, just in case there's a leakage and there's a flame, it catches fire, it will not reach the cylinder in any way. So flame arresters are used in all the gas pipelines or the petroleum pipes. These are flame arresters. Just in case one section catches fire, all the other sections, they are going to immediately arrest the flame, and the rest of the section of the pipeline is going to remain secure. Then we go to slide number 36. 3.6, we talk about electrical safety. Electricity has always been something of has not been in control of the mankind, and we cannot handle our bodies cannot handle electricity. So what we need to do is that trained electricians should be there in a factory, and that electrician should maintain all the electrical systems, equipments and supplies. No work should be carried out on live system. If you can't be working on a working generator or any system which is already working, because it's going to be dangerous. So until and unless there is no possibility of working on a system which has been switched off, and you have to work on live system only in those cases a person may work on the live system. Otherwise, it is always preferable to shut off the system and only then work on the system. Any kind of upkeep or any kind of maintenance or any kind of testing or any kind of repair to be done, it should not be done on live systems. All electrical equipments should be tested and checked annually. Electrical equipment should be grounded. The power connection should be securely fixed, else it may lead to electrocution of the person who's using it, or it may lead to leakage of the power, electricity to other systems and may damage the system, or someone else may get electrocuted because of leakage of power. And the electricity means supply, the main supply of electricity, it should always be free from obstacles. Wherever you have the mains, it should be clean, clear. Nothing should be there. Nothing like broken chairs or dustbins or cartons. Normally, which is what happens in factories. Wherever you have this electric main supply, it has to be absolutely open. You should be able to access it freely. Nothing in between. And all electricity main supply, they will carry a warning sign. Two bones crossing each other and then a skull, and which reads warning and 440 volts, unauthorized persons are not allowed, trespassers will be prosecuted, etc., etc. All of that should be, the warning sign should be there, and this sign is normally in such a sticker which glows in the dark, so that even if it is dark, people can see the warning sign. And all these electricity main supply, it should be properly maintained, and no unauthorized person should be able to access it because it can lead to fatal accidents. So we come to slide number 37, where it says that no live wires shall be exposed. So you cannot have live wires exposed. All of that has to be covered with sellotape. The joints should not be visible, so it's well taped so that there is no possibility of short circuit, and mostly they should not be accessible to the people working, so that even accidentally no one should come in contact with the naked wire. And second is only waterproof appliances and supplies should be used outdoors. If you have lights or any such appliances which are left outdoors and which are used outdoors, then in that case you should only have waterproof appliances and the supplies. So we have ABCD. A is the main electricity main supply system. B, we can see there is naked wires. It's a typical example of naked wires. The switches, and this is something which cannot be left like this. C is again a system socket in which the coupling socket can be fixed to it. So the wires to the joints, they will be joined with each other, and this system is going to lock with each other. So even if there is heavy rain and things like that, not a single drop of water can seep inside this joint. So this is the C is such a socket system. When connected with another socket, will complete the joint and will be secure. Water cannot go inside, and it is waterproof. And D is the symbol, the danger symbol of electricity. Normally it is in yellow background, and the printing is done in black color and is visible from far away itself, and people understand that this is danger. It means one should not come close to this system. With that, we come to 3.7, which talks about manual handling in slide number 38, and it's a thumb rule worldwide and should be followed even in the rich countries as well as the poor countries, that no one will lift, carry, push or pull any load which could harm them. So if you go to America, one human being will not be lifting more than 15 pounds. If there is a package which is more than 15 pounds, then the human will not lift it. You will have to provide with a mechanism, with a machine, with something with which they will lift the load, not bare hands. So no one is going to lift or carry or push or pull any load which could harm them. It's again a legal aspect. And work allocation, nature of load, task and environment as per personal ability. So what we're saying here is that as a factory, the factory should be wise and intelligent enough to allocate work as per the personal abilities. You can't be giving the work of lifting heavy loads to a very thin person, an old person. Someone who is young and who is well built should be given the task of lifting the weights and lifting loads or objects from one place to another. So the load or the task or the environment should be as per the personal abilities. So if it is a man and if it is a woman, then women should be given different type of tasks and men should be given different type of tasks depending on their personal abilities. And normally factories should avoid manual handling and should provide mechanical handling equipment like a wheelbarrow or like a trolley or something like that, so that people don't have to keep the cartons or the objects or items on their head or on their shoulder. It's an inhuman thing to do. just like the coolies that we have at the railway station. Absolutely, that's an absolute um, violation of the labor laws. And if you go to the next level, we're saying that there should be job rotation wherever repetitive strain injuries could be a risk. Meaning to say that we understand that lifting heavy loads and taking it from one place to another, it may cause, there can be a chance of injury or strain to a person. So in such cases, there should be job rotation. If person A is working and lifting loads, then maybe in a 1 week the person A is lifting the load. Next week there can be person B who will be lifting the load, and person A will be sent to do something else which has nothing to do with lifting the load, and which is going to be of a less severe nature. So by the virtue of job rotation, this strain, the possibility of someone straining or injuring oneself, that possibility will be reduced. You can't have one person who is lifting loads throughout the year, because something or the other would go wrong with the person's body. Now, if you see the visual shows a mechanism where it has a broad base, circular base, and which is suspended on two very powerful springs. So what's going to happen in this case is that a wooden platform is mounted on this circular base, and on that wooden platform the cartons are kept. So the more number of cartons you keep on it, the platform is going to go down. So when you are lifting the cartons, the more number of cartons you lift from this this mechanism, the cartons are going to lift itself higher, because the spring is going to push the entire platform upwards. So what actually happens when you use this mechanism is that a person will never have to bend down. In case of B, if you see B, a person has to bend down and then lift it up. So that by doing this, a person may injure the backbone. And in case of A, in which this mechanism is being used, persons are lifting the cartons from the waist level. They don't have to bend down. It's a simple mechanism, very cheap. But then using this mechanism, you will be able to ensure that no one hurts themselves. And we go to the next slide, which is slide number 39. We come to 3.8, which is job hazard assessment. Now, there can be jobs which are not dangerous at all, but there can be jobs which can be very dangerous or a little dangerous. Now, whatever be the case, a worker who's supposed to take up a hazardous job, they should know beforehand that the job that they're doing involves certain amount of hazard. So if there is any risk involved, the worker should know it. And if there are risks involved, then the suitable personal protective equipment must be provided to the worker free of cost. You ask people to do dangerous things, and then you tell them that you will have to arrange for your own personal protective equipment. That is wrong. You're asking them to do dangerous things. You are the one who's going to provide the personal protective equipment. Just like the COVID, the health workers who are working in the hospital right now, in the COVID hospitals, they can't be told to buy the personal protective equipment from their own pocket. It has to be provided by the hospital. There are other hazards like sound hazard. People who are working in such area where there is a lot of noise because of the machinery, because of whatever activity is happening, manufacturing activity, shredding or anything. So in such cases, the person who is standing there throughout the day amidst a lot of noise, lot of sound, should be provided earmuffs, so that the earmuffs protect the eardrum of the person. If there is a lot of particulates in the air, In that case, the person should be given respiratory gear so that they don't develop any respiratory problem. In case there is a lot of light, especially when we are talking about welding and other things, in that case dark glasses should be given to the worker. And in case there are hazardous chemicals, then they should be given the gloves and gumboots. And in case a person is using electrical cutters, cutters which can cut and which are electric powered, in that cases the person who is operating the cutter should necessarily, mandatorily, strictly be given chain gloves made of metal chain, so that even by mistake they don't cut their hand or they don't cut their fingers. And goes without saying, all the employees should be trained to use and maintain the personal protective equipment. How to use the personal protective equipment and how to maintain it. They should be trained. Otherwise, they may, by way of ill maintenance, the personal protective equipment may go bad and then would not be able to do its job well. And signs should be posted. PPE is required or use of PPE is mandatory. So let's say there is a zone where there are a lot of gases, poisonous gases. A factory is making chemicals and there are a lot of poisonous gases which is produced in a particular space. Then before a person enters there, that sign should be clearly written that before entering you have to wear a personal protective equipment. So PPE is required or use of PPE is mandatory. That should be written in big font so that no one, even by mistake, enters an area without wearing the personal protective equipment. And other warning signs like high voltage, extreme temperature, etc., all of that should be placed at the suitable places so that people know that they should not be entering any such areas which are dangerous. So with that we come to slide number 40. Now we're going to talk about the residential accommodation. Now when we say residential accommodation, we are talking about such cases where a factory has its own residential campus for the workers. So in that case, 3.9.1 talks about the dormitories. Dormitories are huge halls in which many people sleep, they occupy the space, they have their own individual almirahs, and they share the washroom and the bathrooms, etc. So if you are a factory and you also have your own residential complex, campus, then in that case the residential accommodation must be sound, safe, clean and spacious. It should not be crowded, it should be clean, it should be safe for the persons, and it should be sound. It should have a strong structure. It should, the accommodation, the building should not collapse. It should be strong. And if you are providing them residential area, residential campus, then you have to ensure that you provide them with the toilets, washing facilities and clean running water. The international rule is that for dormitories, the living space should be at least 25 square feet per person, meaning to say that if there is 1000 square feet of space, then there shouldn't be more than 40 people living in that area. So that living space should be more than 25 square feet per person. And of course, each employee must have his or her bed, and there should be reasonable amount of privacy, and they should have their individual lockers to keep their things. And employees in their free time, they can leave or enter anytime. You can't stop them. You can't tell them that you're not supposed to go out. You have to come back by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock unless we're talking about such a place where there is loot or dacoity or criminal activities happen in the evenings or night. Unless there is a valid reason, a factory cannot have any kind of constraint, restriction on the employees. And these residential facilities, it should be secure, and secure as in there should be security guards, and there should be walls all around, or any kind of security has to be there. It just cannot happen that anyone can enter the residential facility and do anything. There has to be fire protection, and there should be electrical safety also if you are providing the residential facilities. And in case of dormitories also, the evacuation plan must be posted, and the fire drills should be undertaken every 6 months. Just like evacuation plan must be posted at the prime areas in the factory, and fire drills should happen every 6 months. Same for the dormitories. And then we come to bathrooms. Again, minimum 1 shower for 12 people. Hot and cold water should be available, and there should be full privacy, meaning to say that there should be a door in the toilets, and there should be opaque window panes. And if you talk about the toilets, then there should be minimum 1 toilet for 12 people, and it should be clean and odor free, meaning to say that the toilets have to be cleaned by a person who is appointed by the factory. And there should be at least 1 male room and 1 female room for every 2 floors. And the factory has to ensure the availability of or the supply of flushing and washing water, and the door, there should be a door, and there should be opaque windows.